Welcome to the fourth episode of Zero Balancers from around the world. Let's find out who's practicing zero balancing, how they first came across it, and why they love it so much. Now I'm about to introduce you to the star of this episode, and that's Peter Woodgate.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Woodgate, and yes, I'm a zero balancer and have been for, I'm not sure, where are we, 20-ish years. I'm also a zero balancing teacher. I'm vice president of the Zero Balancing Association in New Zealand, and I'm also on the board of the Zero Balancing Touch Foundation. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So how did you first come across zero balancing?
Hmm. I first came across zero balancing doing my massage training, believe it or not. And it was my teacher at the Bristol College of Massage and Bodywork did many, many different disciplines, one of which happened to be zero balancing. He never specifically said, this is zero balancing, or any of the other things that he did, but he kept saying, try something like this, try something like this, try something like this. So my massage training included lots of different elements, some of which may have been zero balancing or may not. I don't know because he never said. But that was kind of, and I guess to that point, I'd never heard of zero balancing either. So it was like, okay. But yeah.
So what made you want to try it?
There was something, and I'm not sure what it was, but there was something that kept popping up in spurious places to do with zero balancing. Um, Having trained in massage and practiced in the UK for a couple of years, my wife and I then travelled in New Zealand for 6 months, and we happened to go to a health show that was happening, in Auckland, and came across zero balancing there. There happened to be a stand, and they weren't doing any zero balancing; they were just talking about it. And I just kind of said, well, I'm kind of here on holiday. I'll put my name on the list for any training. It may come up while I'm here. So it was there. I don't know. There was always something that drew me to zero balancing, but I didn't know what. But I was willing to find out.
Mm. So what was your first experience of receiving zero balancing like?
My first experience of receiving zero balancing was actually on my ZB1 training. I had never had a zero balancing, but as I say, there was something that drew me to it, and I didn't know what it was. So my first full experience was at the end of day one of ZB1, and I was given a zero balancing, and I knew why I really, really, really knew why I was there. So, because I was just blown away.
So why did you decide to study zero balancing?
Um, I decided to study zero balancing because there was just something about it. It kept popping up in different places, different things. And it was like, I didn't really know why. Yes, I did a little bit of research into it, but the information, I mean, yes, it was great information, but it kind of, there was still something that I just wanted to know more. And I knew the only way to know more was actually do the training. So that's why I went for it and just kind of signed up and did a ZB1.
And how would you describe zero balancing?
Zero balancing is a very unique body mind therapy. Um, it brings people home in a way that's really hard to describe in a feeling sense, but it actually brings you fully into your body. I've experienced lots of different bodywork techniques and things, and it's the only zero balancing is the only thing that I've found that actually I felt brought me into fully into my body, not only on a physical level, but an emotional level, a mental level, and a spiritual level as well. It encompasses everything.
How have you personally benefited from receiving zero balancing?
When I first started training in zero balancing, because there was no zero balancers near me, my personal experience of receiving initially was limited to actually doing courses. As zero balancing was starting to take off, and this is all in New Zealand, so as zero balancing was starting to take off, there was a few more people that were more local to where I was, so I was able to experience it more. And the more I experienced it personally, the more that I realized how profound it was in its simplicity, yet it just works in a way that is really hard to describe. And it's for me personally, it was just about bringing my whole being together in a way that I'd not experienced in anything else.
And what would you, it's like a small addendum to this question, what would you say is the benefit of having your whole being together?
We live in a world where we get very scattered mentally, emotionally, physically. We may have a fairly sedentary job that could be quite mental. Emotionally, we could be all over the place. Spiritually, for a lot of people, it's not even there on the radar. um, but with zero balancing, it's working on all of those levels: the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And it really does bring them together and combine them to bring us into who we really are. And that's so important these days, even more so now than it was, you know, many years ago. But it's because we live in such a high-paced world. Everybody wants a response instantly to whether it's a phone call or Facebook or Instagram or whatever they need. They feel they need to respond and do everything really quickly. And it's like, no, we just need to pause and just allow our whole being to be involved in our daily lives.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So, who are zero balancing workshops for?
Zero balancing workshops, I would say, primarily are for people that maybe do some form of body work. Again, it varies country to country, but generally speaking, they're designed for people that do some form of body work, and they may feel that they have an element missing. And zero balancing will actually give them ideas, concepts, and practical ways of bringing these missing elements into the work that they already do, let alone doing just a straight zero balancing session.
Nice. And if somebody's already trained in a touch-based therapy, what does zero balancing have to offer that's different?
Many people that have trained in a touch-based therapy, it's very practical, it's very hands-on, the way that they are taught. It's you know, A followed by B followed by C, and you need to work with this muscle, this bone, this ligament, this something. Zero balancing always addresses the whole body, not just one area. And our touch is quite different. Um, we're taught to engender safety, trust, and compassion with our very first touch of the body. That actually starts an internal healing process for the person. So the work is already happening from our very first touch, let alone the rest of the work that we then go on to do. So it's a very different modality.
I love how you encapsulated the healing quality of interface and highest personal regard and said it so, I don't know, such an accessible and down to earth way. I think that was brilliant. I don't think enough people speak about how interface in and of itself is healing.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And that's certainly my experience.
yeah,
And obviously those are my clients as well.
yeah.
Cool. So what was your first zero balancing workshop like?
My first zero balancing workshop, uh, hmm, hmm, it kind of blew my mind. I, I can't, I can't say it in any other way. It was, I was, yeah, just the concepts, just the way that zero balancing is structured came across straight away, and it was a lot of the concepts weren't alien to me. They weren't necessarily new, but I'd never had them combined in the way that zero balancing combines them. So it was just fascinating to be learning um, a touch-based therapy that combined so many different levels and thought processes from lots of different ideas and concepts, and you could call them not necessarily religions, but yeah, it just brought everything together. It brought the world together. It brought the universe together.
And what is it about zero balancing that has you hooked?
Hmm. Hmm. Zero balancing had me hooked from day one of doing my first course, because I just realized there was some inner part of me that realized how profound it was in its simplicity. Yes, there's lots involved. Yes, there's lots of uh, concepts that may be new to people, and they're brought together in a way, and it is very simple. It's about allowing. It's not doing to. It's allowing. It is a truly holistic mind, body, spiritual, emotional therapy. And it just allows what is to happen.
And can you please share a zero balancing session or sessions that stands out as a good example of what it can do for people?
While I was in New Zealand, um, there was I worked with a range of people from babies through to 96-year-olds. Um, there's one that stands out off the top of my head. I think she was a 14-year-old. I'd seen her not regularly, but on and off over a period of years from, I don't know, when she was about 7 or 8, with probably growing aches and pains and that sort of thing. And of course, in New Zealand, they're quite sporty. So it was maybe some injuries that they may have been to a physio, they may have been wherever, and but that kind of came, and zero balancing seemed to help them with that. But there was one time that I saw her and her mum in the phone call to actually book the appointment said, um, she's been diagnosed with anxiety and I've lost my daughter. And she said, don't let her know that you know that. She's coming because she thinks she's hurt her back, or she's got something going on with her back. So I said, okay, fine. So daughter turns up, and okay, yeah, I knew her, and it was fine. And so just basically did a ZB session with her. Nothing special, nothing different. But my internal focus was on just helping her deal with whatever she needed to deal with. I had a text message from the mother about 2 hours later, and it was just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have my daughter back. She's actually talking to all of us. She's smiling. She's happy. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, it was just like, okay. So yeah, and I mean, it was an incredible feeling to get that. But at the end of the day, I wasn't aiming for anything. All I was doing was a session. So, and it just goes to show that zero balancing can work with so many different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really heartwarming story. So thanks for sharing that. I think people will really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, so if people would like to work with you, where can they find you?
Currently, I'm based in South Wales, and I'm working out of, it's actually a physiotherapy centre called One to One Therapy in Bridgend in South Wales. You can also contact me through Facebook, on, just trying to remember, it's Peter Woodgate, ZB1 on Facebook. And I do have a website, peterwoodgate.com. So I can be contacted through that as well.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope you enjoyed getting to know Peter. You'll find links to his online presence down in the description below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, or subscribe to feed the YouTube algorithm and give Peter and Zero Balancing some more exposure. Until the next time, goodbye.